It's another episode of the Browns Roundtable podcast here with you, myself, Spencer German, Anthony Moeglin, alongside, as we're in full off-season mode, full head coach search mode. And there's a lot to dissect.
Hey, right where we're supposed to be, Germ. There's other podcasts talking about playoffs and all that. No, mock drafts and coaching.
We're talking quarterbacks. We're talking reporters asking. Can I ask you what you thought about it? With Liam Cohen on the front of our graphic there, it got me. I was sitting there thinking, like, I wonder how Megs felt about I forget the woman's name, and I don't want to get it wrong. I know she's a well-respected reporter in that room. I mean, I don't know, maybe she's not anymore after how that viral that went. But what did you think?
Of comments? Lynn Cook, is Lynn Cook the
yes
right? Yes, Lynn Cook. Okay, so
sorry,
Lynn. I've been in the media world now for this is my second season, right? So I understand those I understand those press conferences now. If you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have said, that's awesome. It's cool. You ask me now, I'm like, that's so – and, yes, she's really well-respected. That's so corny because the way I see it, it was not like –
yeah.
It was her moment to – she took the microphone. She knew she was going to get clipped. Like, yes, she said something very nice, and I absolutely understand that. But it is not – that's not –
yeah.
That's not that. It's not for that. That you could say something nice off camera to him. Liam, you did an unbelievable job. You're back. I love it. And I'm sure that happens a lot. Yeah, that's not for there. That's not for there.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, my point.
I do. So I've done that before. Like, Miles has a big game and I'm like, hey man, good game, whatever. Like I've said those things. Like I don't care if it happens. I think the thing for me is like definitely like the press conference setting is not necessarily the place for it, but what I will say too is, and I saw a clip from Scott Van Pelt talking about this. I don't know if you saw this clip.
I didn't see it.
It was interesting because he was like, is what these people do or is what we do covering sports like that serious that you can get mad that somebody said what they wanted to say and like had the floor for 20 seconds and was your hard hitting question about why Josh Allen was able to elude the pocket and make a play that important? Like that you feel like those 20 seconds like ruined your chance. Like he was like it was. So I that's where I'm at. I kind of see both sides. like here's what I would say. If I was in that press conference room, I'd probably like hear that and be like, oh, that's interesting. But I wouldn't do that myself. But I'm also not like as mad as everybody else that you did it. I guess.
You were in one. You were in one when it happened.
No, I wasn't there for that actually.
Oh, you weren't there
for the Jeff Shadell moment. That was epic though. I was hosting. I was hosting on 92 Through the Fan that day, and so we air Kevin's press conference live, and so I was sitting there listening, and like as he's talking, I'm like leaning in more. I'm like, is he gonna have a question? Like I thought it was gonna end with like, I think you dealt with a lot, and it was you got a raw deal, and then I thought he was gonna ask like, do you agree with that? And it was just like, I just want you to know that, and I was like,
I love you, dude.
He professes love for Kevin Stefanski. That was
hey. Crazy. Did you see the last thing on this? Did you see Brooke Pryor's tweet or post?
I don't think I did. No.
She's an ESPN.
Was it about Mike Tomlin?
No, it was about the clip. It was about the clip, and she was like very like vanilla. She's like she took a side, and she was like, yeah, I don't like. Very nice of her to say, but like not the time and place. And I think last I looked, it was like 11 million views,
wow.
And people were going berserk. But I also saw one that was like, imagine saying that to Bill Belichick after a playoff loss. And him being up there, and him being like, bro.
He would not have cared at all. Bill would have just been like,
he'd have deadpan.
I'm on to Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm on the offense.
He just would have like, he would have just like grumbled like, thanks.
Where's Jordan?
I'm on to Cincinnati. It would have been like the most nonchalant response ever. Anyway, started completely off the rails here. But hey, that's the show. We
Off-season,
have some fun here. We like to, bullshit, especially in the off season when these topics can get a little innocuous. We're 2 weeks into not 2 weeks, but we're a week and a half into coach search mode, and the Browns are holding interviews and they're bringing in different candidates, some notable, some less notable. And I think I want to play this clip coming up because Megs, I was kind of going back through Andrew Berry's press conference last week after Kevin Stefanski was fired, and he made a comment about how. Well, I'll play that. We'll play the clip to get the context of it. But the what he said in this clip made me sort of wonder if we should forget about like the Harbaughs and the Mike McDaniels and all those guys that are like the known names, and be sort of focused in on some of the hot coordinator guys, whether they're offense or defense, as the who's going to get this job here. Let's play this clip, and then we'll react to it on the other side.
We'll be pretty open-minded. I think there are a number of different archetypes of successful head coaches. I think about Kevin. I think it's easy to forget now that he has, 2 Coach of the Year awards on his mantle, that when he was interviewed first in 2019 and he didn't get the job, and then again, I guess it was 2020 and he did, in both of those cycles, he had no head coaching experience, and we were the only team that interviewed him. And so I think our responsibility is to search far and wide. There are good coaches out there. We've just got to do our homework and find the right fit for us. We'll have no preconceived notions as we go into the search.
So specifically the line about how, specifically the line about how Kevin was the Browns were the only team that interviewed Kevin in 19 and 20 when he eventually got hired. And, he turned into a 2-time Coach of the Year is what I sort of felt to me like Andrew's suggesting, hey, we're going to think outside the box here. And it's not, I don't know, like, you never know how these things are going to go. Like, they can go in a bunch of different directions. I don't know that people knew, like, John Harbaugh was going to be available necessarily. Like, so there's all these different, things that happen in these processes. And I'm not saying like they went into it just being like, we're going to hire the hot coordinator guy and we know. But that made me believe that, like, they're going to go into this thing, and yeah, the Harbaughs would be great. The Mike McDaniels and the offensive prowess that he has would be great. Jim Schwartz promoting from within would be great. But it almost feels like they want something like fresh, new, and they're not just going to follow like the status quo. And so there's a few names that kind of come to mind when I think about that, and they are like Nate Shieldhouse. There's Grant Yabinski from Jacksonville, who was on the title slide. And I think about like Dan Pitcher, who Andrew Berry has some history with. And there's probably some others like Chris Shula, whatever. But those are the ones that kind of stand out to me as like, I think they're going to hire from that pool, the up and coming guy that might even be a little too early to hire them, but they're going to take that chance over like the big names that people are talking about.
There's no question. And I think a couple things factor into that. Like, I think when you look at the pool of teams that need a head coach right now, right? Steelers, Ravens, Dolphins, go down the list, right? The Browns are at the bottom of that list, right? So like when,
do you think they're the worst? Do you think they're the least attractive job?
They got to be one of them.
I think the Dolphins are worse, and I think the Cardinals are worse. But maybe I'm wrong, but that was just. And I know people are trying to argue the Steelers are worse, but like, guys, the Steelers have years of tradition of like winning and stability and like ownership.
They also don't fire their coaches too, right? Like they don't fire.
Like I they're probably in a little bit of a rebuild phase, but like. I don't necessarily think it's a bad job. Anyway, continue.
So there's that element to it where it's like, hey, you're not going to get, I think I was very much so when the Harbaugh got fired, I was like, bring him home. I think I tweeted it up like 10 times. But like, that's not a realistic option, right? Like he's not coming to an organization that is in the turmoil that Cleveland is. So you got to have to think outside the box and take a chance on a guy who maybe you're away. And then you think back to, some of the guys who have made it, right? Sean McVay was probably hired a year too early, right? He wasn't quite the name in the coaching search that was popping off when the Rams hired him. LaFleur the same, these guys that like, hey, they're maybe a year away, but they're bringing an element of innovation to your offense. Like that's the third part of this, I guess, is that look around the NFL and the teams that are still in it and are successful. The Bears have taken the world by storm. Sean McVay, the 49ers out in Kubiak out in Seattle on that side of things. And then on this side, Jacksonville, obviously Liam Cohen orchestrated one of the better years that you'll see. And you got Drake May and all those guys, right? They have unique offenses and creative and innovative offenses. How many times did we get on a show after a game and be like, well, we just saw run, empty, incomplete punt the whole year long with no creativity, same shit week after week after week with no innovation, man. And I think you got to get one of those guys that can spice it up, can change it up. It's going to make mistakes along the way, but we'll give your team a fighting chance in these games, but also too, when the team's ready to go, that they can put their foot on the gas pedal and kind of tear it up. So like, that's kind of, I've totally changed my mind to like one of these up and coming young guys.
Yeah, and I wanted Harbaugh from the beginning too. I think a lot of people did, rightfully so. Like,
also for like the stability factor, right?
Of like, yeah, he's a proven culture builder. I get all that. I think Harbaugh hasn't. The reporting on Harbaugh isn't that he's like told the Browns no, but he also hasn't. There hasn't been like one report that he's actually taken an interview with the Browns, and so I think that kind of tells you all you need to know about Harbaugh. He's probably not coming here.
Yeah.
Like Mike McDaniel interviewed here, so I think he could be a possibility. We could talk about him a little bit too, but it's interesting because if you hire a guy too soon, or like you try to get like the hot coordinator guy, it can blow up in your face. It can backfire. Sure. But if it works out, like you're sort of on the you sort of beat the clock on it, right? And I do think on some level, Jimmy Haslam wants that. He had that rant on Monday last week about. He pushes back on the notion that there's dysfunction within the organization, and he was like emphatic about it. I think he wants people to tell him, "You're smart. You know what you're doing. Like this is a good hire." Like say that's the reason why they kept Hugh Jackson as long as they did, because they people around the league were like, Hugh Jackson's respected, like he's a great coach. Didn't work out that way, but they liked being told like you made the right hire. And so I think the same thing sort of applies here, where it's like, dude, to get out in front of that and like hire a Udinsky or hire a Shieldhouse or whatever. And then have people be like, man, like you really you maybe jumped the gun, but like if this kid can figure it out, you're gonna have a great offensive mind and you're building for years to come. I think they want that, and so we'll see. And by the way, like I don't think it has to. We're talking about a lot of offensive guys. I don't think it has to be like offensive mind versus defensive mind. I've actually eased off that as well lately because like look around the league right now. Look at some of the teams left in the playoffs. The Seahawks have a defensive minded coach. They're doing just fine. Like there is the scariness of like having to replace your offensive coordinator all the time for your quarterback, but like Vrabel, defensive minded coach.
Yeah. DeMeco Ryans,
defensive minded coach. Sean McDermott, defensive minded coach. Like half the teams in the
like the AFC is all defensive guys, and the NFC is all offensive like whiz kids.
Yeah, and like I said, it's that fine line between like you're trying to find the next Sean McVay, and also, you want to make the right hire. It's also, frankly, Megs, like why I've said don't rule out Tommy Rees in this conversation, because we saw the reports toward the end of the season about how they really think highly of Tommy Rees. He is going to get a job, whether it's in college or the NFL at some point. And if they decide, we're going to be the people to like give him his first opportunity and kind of get out in front of this, I wouldn't be surprised, because I think they want to sort of feel like they find this diamond in the rough, if you will, and everyone's, trying to steal from them down the line because they have that next great coach.
Yeah, it's a tough decision, because like I go back to, you take that risk and it blows up in your face, and then it feels like,
the blowing up in your face is like Freddie Kitchens, right?
That's
what, like,
literally what I was
like totally unprepared.
Yeah,
doesn't know what he's doing. Like that's the blowing up in your face.
Yes, that was exactly what I was going to say. Like you're back at Freddie Kitchens, where you're looking around and you're like, this team can't do anything. They can't get out of huddles. They can't line up. They're unprepared, all that stuff. But he had good couple games calling plays, right? And it's like, you hope that's the risk, man. That's the risk. Like it's not at our pay grade to make that final call, but man, like that's a very, very tough decision. These conversations have to be really challenging, but I do think that the way that the Browns are kind of operating right now, the first week, the first run of guys was like, okay, maybe a little defensive focus. And then the second run of guys was like McDaniel, Shieldhouse, and then Udinsky. And it's like, okay, then here's your offense again, Tommy Rees, right? Like, I just think the way I look at this, and if it were me, I would lean to, I've said it pretty much every week, like I'm infatuated with the Chicago Bears. They changed their offensive line in a year. They brought in a stud play caller coach, brought in a couple pieces of wide receiver, drafted a couple pieces of wide receiver. They have one of the worst defenses in the league, but they turn the ball over, and they're playing for the NFC divisional round right now. Yeah. And it's like, it's like, okay, if you can win with offense. You can, and all of these teams that are left, me and you talk about Drake. You talk about Drake May every week, right? Like, hey, dude's a stud, man. Like, but then I say that, and then I'm going to talk out of the other side of my mouth. The Texans built the meanest group of defenders of all time, and they just run to the ball and kill you when they're there. I saw a good tweet. It's like 11. The Texans defense is like 11 velociraptors with machine guns attached to their arms because they just get after you with nasty intentions and they shut you down. But
yeah,
I don't know, man. I would lean more towards the offensive side. A young, innovative guy.
So of those names that we've thrown out, and you can bring Mike McDaniel to this as well. Like who's keeping Harbaugh out of it, because I think we both want Harbaugh. Yeah. I also think we both would want Tomlin if he was available, but it sounds like Tomlin's doing like the TV thing, and so it doesn't sound like he's an option. Like who are if you had to make like a short list of like these are the guys that I'm really infatuated with or interested in or like that I think is the right person for the job, who's at the top of that list for you?
Yeah, I Udinski's grown on me like a lot, and at first
just because you saw that video of him talking about Jacoby Myers.
And no, that I find that stuff so funny. Like obviously I didn't play in the NFL, I didn't coach in the NFL, but the moment one person says one thing like football,
you know what's funny about it?
Oh my God, he's a genius.
Well, that you hit the nail on the head. What's funny about it is like people don't know how to talk football like in that in depth like that if they're not like if they're just like the casual fan. So you find one video of any coach talking about cover 2 or you got John Gruden out here saying like cover 2 or whatever why banana and like everyone's like freaking out like oh this guy knows what he's talking about. It's like dude he was an NFL coach, like of course he knows what he's talking about. Like every coach can talk like that. That's the whole point. Like I would hope if they're doing their job, they know how to like, drop a defense, drop an offense, or how to attack cover 2 or cover 3. Like that's the whole point. So you can't, that's about as meaningful. That video is about as meaningful as like whoever they hire winning the press conference.
The one that really stood out to me was, this was like weeks and weeks ago. It was Fernando Mendoza after the Penn State game, and he was like explaining the final play to Urban Meyer. He was on the Urban Meyer podcast, and he basically just like went through his read, and Urban was like, "Oh, it's really good," and everyone was like, "Oh my God, he's the smartest guy ever." And I was like, he just like looked left, the safety went off the hash. He knew if that happened, he flipped his hips and threw it. Like, I mean, that's all it was, right? Like, it's just very funny. And
while he's on a podcast with Urban Meyer, who's like. One of the most like that guy will forget more football than I'll ever know. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly. It's just, I find it very funny. But anyway,
I'm with you. Anyway, continue.
No, Udinski's clip of him talking to Jacoby Myers didn't sell me. What did sell me is at first I was like, no, like we can't be the laughing stock. You do this, you're the Freddie Kitchens thing again. But I was like, no, he's, that offense in Jacksonville was awesome. I think Liam Combs a great great coach off the tree of Sean McVay, which is off the tree. It's off the Shanahan.
Kevin O'Connell. Well, and Udinski was with Kevin O'Connell. Udinski was with Kevin O'Connell last year.
And it's like, okay, like those are the guys you want to be around when you're developing quarterbacks and you're trying to make this thing work. And I just want a creative offense. Like I don't want to go and see a vanilla offense week after week after week. And so he's up there for me. I think Schneehouse is like a little far off. I'm gonna get it wrong.
If he gets the job, you better practice this.
I'm gonna practice, and I'll write on my whiteboard 100 times. I'll write his name so I won't forget it. But the culture guys were like, I don't think that would be good for stability. I just don't think. I think they got to kind of take a swing, right? And I think Udinski continues to climb for me. I don't want Mike McDaniel at all.
Why are you out of Mike McDaniel? I'm curious.
I'm out of Mike McDaniel. I mean, I think like it's hard for me to get over. Like you kind of proved yourself, right? Like yes, his team continued to fight for him this year, but that team's been very similar to like the Browns over the past couple of years, where they've been just continually disappointing year after year after year. They have a couple nice wins, and then he can't beat big teams. He can't take his team, to cold environments and win, whether that's him or
that won't matter in 2029, but yeah.
Well, that's true, but like you're still going to Heinz
Will
Field.
Will he be here in 3 years?
So it's like I am cold on McDaniel and hotter on some of these other guys.
So I think I'm in kind of a rare camp with McDaniel because I don't hate it. Like I'm open-minded to it. You know what I mean? Like I think with McDaniel, it's either people are highly sensitive or they're like, I hate this guy. What did he do in Miami? He's not a leader of men. And I think there's other people who are like, dude, I want this guy right now. He's a great offensive like it wasn't his fault. Those offenses, like Tua was terrible, like all those things. I'm kind of in the middle where I'm like, I don't know if he's my favorite candidate, but I also if they hired him, I think it would be I'd be like, okay, like I can get behind this in terms of like what direction they're kind of trying to go. And it's the same thing, right? Like the Kyle Shanahan tree. And the reason I say that is like you mentioned one thing, like they kept playing for him at the end of the season. So that question of like, did he lose the locker room, leader of men? I think you kind of saw that wasn't an issue. Maybe it was, and we don't know. But I also think too, like there was a lot of criticism about Kevin Stefanski, and people said he didn't hold guys accountable.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Mike McDaniel hold guys accountable. Like he was at press conferences openly saying, he was asked like, is Tua going to start? And he was like, if you're a detriment to our team, I have to consider everything. Like he was holding guys accountable the way that Browns fans wanted Kevin Stefanski to maybe do publicly. And that's not Kevin Stefanski's MO. And maybe that's what got him in trouble. Maybe that's why people question if he's a leader of men. I can understand that. He's definitely like that player's coach mentality. Yeah. If he can learn from that a little bit and he gets a second chance somewhere, I'd be okay with it. I would, but he has to prove that. So
have you ever imagined,
I'm not out on McDaniel.
Have you ever imagined like what a team meeting would be like with him leading it up front, being like,
well, I already said, you know what's funny? I mean, I'm sure those team meetings are like, there's something. Yeah. But I tweeted this when it was announced that they were like interested in him and like requesting an interview or whatever. That he'll show up to his first press conference as Browns head coach wearing that shirt he wore when they were playing the Bills that says like, I wish it was colder. It'll be the ultimate. It'll be Freddie Kitchens all over again. It'll be, he won the press conference. Like, yeah, like we love this guy. Like he'll win everybody over. He's very charming. From a media standpoint, like somebody in that room, like I would love to pick his brain and ask him questions. Like he seems like he's a good time in press conferences, which is a breath of fresh air from Kevin Stefanski. But, like it's about if he can coach, and I think he can coach. I understand some of the questions there, but I'm not totally out on him. What I will say, you brought up Udinski, and he's risen up the board for me as I kind of learn more about him. And there was actually on another podcast I do, which if you see what I'm wearing on my head, you can guess what it is. I talked to
get you a round table hat, brother.
Do we have a store?
We don't have a store.
Gotta work on that.
You guys gotta follow us. We can get a damn store, all right?
Yeah, because that's where we want to put our money right now. No, I'm kidding. No, listen. I talked to the host of the Jaguar show in our network, and one thing that he said to me about Udinski that like really caught my attention was because I was asking these questions like, what role did he play in the offensive game plan, and what role did he play on game days, and what stands out about him as a coach. And the one thing he said was like he's a teacher, and that's like and he was saying like as a coach, people think being a coach is just play calling and X's and O's and whatever. But he was like, but there's so much about being a coach that is about being a teacher. Mm-hmm. And, Trevor Lawrence has raved about him. Trevor Lawrence has talked about like how he's grateful to know him. And he's like such a different like mind. And when it comes to like drawing things up and like Trevor Lawrence had a renaissance season this year. He was a lot better. So to me, I heard that. And that was where I was like, okay, like, yeah, he's 30 years old. Maybe he's not ready, but like, that intrigued me where I'm like, I want to see more. I want to know more. I want to learn more. And maybe he doesn't get the job, but Udinski does stand out to me. And I do like Shieldhouse because the McVay connection, I probably need to do a little more digging on him. But when you're coming from the McVay tree, like you kind of know what to expect.
Did you see the video of him? I reposted it this morning about, it was like an 8-minute video of him drawing the cards. Did you watch this?
I think I missed this. No,
very fascinating.
No! I did watch this. Yeah, where he like he's like up late drawing. Yeah, he is.
He's the card drawer for any coach out there, whether it's Pee-wee, high school.
And Zach Taylor talked about how he used to do it and all that.
Yep, and all those guys are like PTSD. Like that's the worst thing you could ever. That's the worst role you could ever want, but it means that the coach respects you or the play caller respects you.
Yeah, he trusts you.
They respect you. They trust you to get it done.
Yeah.
It is the worst thing you could ever imagine. And when the card is wrong and you hold it up in front of the team and the head coach rips you, you're like, well.
Oh, that Zach Taylor story was funny where he was like, it was like LaFleur and McVay telling him two different things. Yes. He was like, I was trying to run like a stick route. And he was so like, common. Yeah, and he was like, and McVay wanted me to just run like straight lines, like up and out. And he was like, but LaFleur wanted me to go like sort of in, up and out, and like do it that way for like a different like leverage. and they went back and forth and had to change it like 30 times. I was like, that sucks.
And all for a 5-yard out that they were probably throwing to Santana Moss, who was going to run it however he wanted to anyway.
Unreal. I will say this too. One coach I'm surprised hasn't gained any traction with the Browns is Robert Saleh. I'm actually really high on Robert Saleh. People throw out like the leader of men thing. I mean, just look at that guy against the Eagles over the weekend, where his defense gets a big stop. His banged up defense that's like being held together by paper clips and rubber bands, and he's like running down the sideline, celebrating with the guys, and like doing the chest bumps and all that. Like that dude is and all you've ever heard from like Richard Sherman, other guys who played before him, is that he is this he cares about his players. I think what probably soured things in New York had a lot to do with Aaron Rodgers. I know it's a tough situation because he's Aaron. So he's somebody who I think people are like, I don't need him. I don't need to see him like retread. Couldn't do it in the Jets. Like, I don't need him to come in here. I actually think like I'd be interested to see a second stint for Robert Saleh. That's the only coach that I think at this point I've sat here and said, I'm surprised there hasn't been more interest in somebody like that.
No, I mean, what he's done with that 49ers team and that 49ers defense, and they get Fred Warner back this week. Like, it's like, man alive. Like, they are.
Yeah.
They play
you see that video, by the way, of Fred Warner, like, climbing the scaffolding or whatever at, like, Levi Stadium? Did you see that?
Yes.
That dude is not from this planet. Like, what the heck? And he was injured. Like, why are you on the IR doing that?
It's crazy. All right, total sidebar here. What is your take on the electromagnetic facility right next to their practice facility? Do you think
I saw people talking about that, but like I didn't catch the whole like story.
So basically, like the theory is that facility, whatever it emits, I don't know it well enough, but whatever magnetic fields it emits, it's supposed to weaken your joints. Okay,
and so they have like a home field advantage.
No. That's why they're so injured every year. Is because every year he and all the players are like, yeah, come to practice and look at the trees that are right next to this facility and look at the ones that are closer to the stadium. And they're like, all like, yeah, there could be some validity because they're getting exposed to like 10x what the normal person should be of whatever it is. Very fascinating thing. I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I don't know. It seems to make.
They're gonna have to rebuild the facility somewhere else, I guess. Then I don't know. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, sidebar there. I'll bring it back.
No, you're good.
I like Udinski, and then it's Udinski or the field. If they got Mike McDaniel, it'd be a tough day for me.
How do you feel about doing the promoting from within thing and like Jim Schwartz gets the job, Tommy Rees gets the job, or Jim Schwartz gets the job, Tommy Rees stays on? It sounds like the Browns want to keep Jim Schwartz.
Yeah,
and so maybe the benefit of like hiring a young guy like Udinski is you can sort of sell him on, hey, listen, this is your first head coaching job. You're 30 years old. Why not keep Jim Schwartz here, who like we've seen the last couple of years can just like be the coach of the defense, and you can worry about what you got to worry about.
Yes. I get concerned about the hire from within, and I understand keeping Schwartz because at least his side of the ball has been good for the most part. The whole point of this whole thing was to change the messaging around your team, right? It was to get a fresh face in there, fresh concepts, fresh everything, get a fresh offense in there. And if you want to keep the defense around, like you can sell me on that. I don't think what Schwartz does is like the best, but I don't think it's bad. For me, it's like, all right, what was the point of this whole thing? And if it was to get a new voice in here, get a new voice in here.
I'm with you on that. I think that's why I am more team like if Schwartz is going to stay, it should be with another coach. It shouldn't be him getting the job.
Yeah,
because I just think if you fired Kevin Stefanski, I don't know if that's enough different to just hire Jim Schwartz. Well, with this, we talked a lot about the Browns search. But listen, like this has been a crazy week because John Harbaugh became available last week, and the Ravens fired him after 18 years. Mike Tomlin, after that embarrassing loss to the Texans on Monday night, he steps down on Tuesday. And there's a couple different pieces of this. The first thing being, man, like I understand this is a Browns podcast, and I understand that Browns fans hate those two teams, but I was reminiscing because it was like, dude, like as long as I've been like watching football from like my middle school years of life, those two guys have been in football, like have been coaches. Like it's been Tomlin, it's been Harbaugh. They've been like staples to those organizations, and it was weird sort of thinking back to like those guys have been coaching for like over half my life for one team, and now they're gone. So that was kind of surreal for me, like to sort of think about that and process that just as like a football fan. But I also think, Megs, like this is an interesting setup now because you have two longtime coaches leaving, stepping down from those two teams. And it's kind of this mad dash because 3 of the 4 teams in the AFC North now, and somehow, some way, Zach Taylor's the only one left.
The only one that survived.
Which is funny because like if you had said at the beginning of the season, 3 of the 4 coaches in this division are getting fired, who are they? The first answer would have been Zach Taylor. And I think people would have assumed like Harbaugh or Tomlin was still here.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. But anyway, like this is kind of an opportunity to seize the moment, right? Like if you make the right hire, and I know the Steelers have a long track record of making the right hires. Ravens certainly did that with Harbaugh. But like if you make the right hire, you could really flip the power dynamics of the AFC North, which Browns fans have been longing for years.
For years, man. It's so critical. Like this next, and Jimmy was talking about the next 120 days, like this hire could springboard you and take you out of the cellar, right? And it could make you a contender year after year. And maybe not so much next year, but I think that's a possibility. And Germ, as you were talking there, I think too, like this could be a total, and this is probably too abstract for here, but like this could be a total like aesthetic change of the whole division too. Like where you think of like, all right, Steeler football, pound you in the ground, play tough defense, get lucky and win at the end. And what if it becomes the NFC West where it's like innovative play caller in Pittsburgh, shootout in Cleveland, innovation and
it's a really good point.
Yeah, and it's like what if it's a total aesthetic change, a field change of this division that's been so old school, bloody nose, punch you in the mouth type of division.
Well, and that's the reason I think that's an awesome point is like you think about Mike McDaniel we talked about earlier. One of the things I've seen criticizing him is like he doesn't play AFC North football. Like you sort of alluded to that, right? Like the weather games and all these things. Yeah, but like you said, is that even going to matter? Yeah. Like is he going to have to play AFC North football as we know it right now when if he's a head coach and Udinski's a head coach in this division and Kevin Stefanski's a head coach in this division, like those guys, they have these innovative offenses that do different things. They're supposed to be creative. Like that's the direction the game has gone. So like I don't necessarily think it's a foregone conclusion that like the definition of AFC North football that we've known is going to stick with these guys gone either. And that's a really good point because it could shift. It could change how we view this division and the way that they play, the style that they play with could be replicable of the Rams and the Lions and all these teams that are like airing it out up and down the field, especially the Browns, who, by the way, are the one team in the division who are building the dome in a couple years. Like, like that could become the style. So we'll see. But that's an awesome point by you because I 100% agree.
It could be cool. It could be a very cool. Like you were talking about the most of your adult life being those two guys. You could give me 100 guesses on who was the head coach of the Ravens before Harbaugh, and I wouldn't get it.
I guess I kind of forget. Like you're like 4 years younger than me.
I could get Bill. I would get Bill Cowher for sure. And
you don't know who the head coach before Harbaugh was when they won a Super Bowl.
He won it with Dilfer, right?
Yeah.
I can see his face. He almost looked a little bit like Cowher. He had
his name has 2 B's. Like his initials are 2 B's.
Brian
Billick. Yep.
Brian Billick. Yeah. See. Yeah. Had you not led me on there, we could have done a whole show of me guessing.
And it's funny you say that because one of the first Super Bowls that I really like watched and was into was that Giants Ravens Super Bowl where they like blew them out and Trent Dilfer was the quarterback. Like that was one of the first Super Bowl games I watched.
What year was that? 2002?
That was 2000. That was 2000. Well, it was 99. It was 99 season into. Do I have that right? I get these all blurred together because the point for me is like on the timeline is I go back to like when 9/11 happened, the year that 9/11 happened, so 2001 season.
Yeah.
The Patriots won because I always thought it was like kind of wild that the team that's like represents like red, white, and blue and all that like won the Super Bowl. So I think the year before that was the Ravens. So yeah, it was the 2000 season, 2001 Super Bowl that the Ravens blew out the Giants. So it was like right at the turn of the century, essentially. So yeah, that was like the first Super Bowl I remember watching. And that was Brian Billick, but like still, 7 years later, Harbaugh takes over. And so I've only ever known Ravens teams with Harbaugh and Billick. I've only ever known Steelers teams with Cowher and Tomlin, it's crazy. It really is crazy.
Were you shocked when the Ravens fired him?
No, because I think I'd seen that coming. It is kind of funny. Like somebody asked Steve Biscotti the question of like, if he makes that field goal, is he still here? And he was like, for a week. And I was like, oh shit! Like they were thinking about this for a while then. Like that tells you all you need to know. That's Steve Biscotti.
Premeditated murder is what that one.
Yeah. That Steve Biscotti press conference was hilarious. By the way, he was like asked. Like, Tomlin stepped down as it was going on. He was like, "Is Mike Tomlin a candidate?" And he was like, "Did he step down?" And they were like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh man," he's like, "I got a lot of respect for Mike." And he was like, "How crazy would that be if we hired Mike Tomlin?" He was like, "Only if we'll do it. Only if John gets the Steelers job." That was like what he joked about. So that was pretty funny. But anyway, so the only other thing, because I think we've spent a lot of time talking coaches, and I think it's fair to have this episode be coaching centric because that's where we're at. We can talk more quarterback stuff coming up next week. But Megs, are you going to feel some type of way if Kevin Stefanski ends up back in this division coaching like the Ravens or the Steelers?
Yeah. I like Kevin. Like I think, and you have some more personal experiences with him. You were with him kind of every day, and you had to talk to him and all that stuff. I wasn't in the building much of ever. But like I liked him. He gave this franchise stability. Like we've been asking for it. And the last 2 years sucked, but the four before that were like where he felt like he had turned it around. And it's gonna suck, man. It was weird. It was weird the day after they fired him, and he was in the Cleveland airport flying to New York.
I saw that. Yeah.
Dang. It's crazy.
I think Browns fans would only care if it's like Ravens or Steelers. If it's anywhere else, I think they can live with it. Like all the teams he's been rumored to, Falcons, Giants, Titans, ironically, are all on the schedule next year.
Yeah.
So it almost feels like no matter what, you're getting a matchup with Kevin Stefanski next year. And so I think fans can live with that. But if he's in their division haunting you 2 times a year, like every single I feel bad for people like Ken Carman if that happens. And like the Monday after these games, he's got to just like react to losing to Kevin Stefanski. Like that's going to be a miserable experience.
And isn't it such a Browns thing too? Like I remember when they moved on from Baker, guess what? First game on the schedule was the Carolina Panthers, right? And it was like, bang, right in your freaking face, dude. Like right in your face, bring it on. Yeah. And it'll be the same thing. He goes to the Ravens. Guess who week 1 is? Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, they 100%. The schedule makers will 100%.
Oh, 100%.
Make the Ravens the first game if he goes to the Ravens. Without question. I mean, he might do it for any of the teams that he goes to.
Yeah, like
he can make it the Titans. He can make it the Falcons. Like whatever. Yeah. They'll do it. But, it's that, and it's funny because like you can't worry about that really. Like if you made the decision to fire him, you felt it was time. You got to worry about what's in your building, and you got to worry about finding the best coach for you. But I know if he goes to the Steelers or the Ravens and he like has a lot of success against the Browns, it's going to be all-time meltdowns.
Or just success in general, Germ. Like imagine him going to Pittsburgh and like, all right, competent organization. Right?
Wins the 3rd coach of the year, gets his quarterback finally.
Stays out of it. He goes 12-4.
They trade up and get Fernando Mendoza this year.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be a disaster. Get him out.
Actually, I guess, you know what? Before we go, we probably do need to talk about the fact that Dante Moore is going back to Oregon.
Whoa, baby.
Really quickly. Because, like, that changes the landscape of everything, right? Like, this class was supposed to sort of be him and Fernando Mendoza. Now Ty Simpson is expected to be sort of quarterback number 2, but I don't think he's going in the first round. I want to stop short of saying, well, hey, next year's the class anyway, because we did that last year and look what happened. But it certainly feels like, it certainly feels like next year's class could be the year, especially with Dante Moore now going back, Arch and after his second year start, like there's a lot of potential there. And so in some ways it kind of feels like the Browns maybe dodged a bullet by being at the top of the board because like there's not necessarily going to be that quarterback there. But I will remind people that if they had just lost those 2 games based on how the other results went, they would have had the number 1 pick. Just saying. I don't mean to rain on anybody's parade, but that would have happened.
Yeah, it would have happened. It would have happened. And it's hard not to just freaking love Fernando Mendoza. Like,
do you like him? You like Mendoza?
Yeah. Like, I think the goofy stuff, like, okay.
He's corny. He's corny, but like on the field.
He's certainly corny, and it gives me like very Russell Wilson like vibes. Like, hey, when it's going good, you can deal with it, right? If they're 2-10, and he's thrown 20 interceptions and 10 touchdowns, and he gets on the podium and he starts reading off his like clearly memorized speech of like, hey, I'm trying to get better.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know about that. But he's tough as nails, man. The ball jumps out of his hands. He's like deathly accurate. He does all the right things. Like, I love him as a player, and I frankly love his personality. But I'm like, it's also very funny, Germ, that he's going to be the quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Of all the places
he took the Heisman Trophy to church, dude.
Of all the places he could go, he's going to Vegas. Yes. Sin City. What happens there stays. Like that's crazy. Yeah, what I will say, and maybe this is like where we start the conversation for our next episode of the pod. I kind of am going into this thing, and I feel like the Browns probably aren't going to draft a quarterback this year. Yeah. I could be wrong because you always want to take bites at the apple. But I feel like if they add to the room, it's probably going to be like a veteran that's out there, put him in a competition. Because here's the thing, like they already have 2 rookies on the roster.
Yeah,
and I've already questioned like if both those guys will be back, like. Do they really trot out like 2 guys who were rookies this past year, Deshaun and a 4th guy? Like you're not going to keep 4, or is that really going to be the room? I don't buy that. Like Andrew kind of alluded to that, so I do think we need to talk about this more in depth. But yeah, I'm curious to see, like knowing what the class is going to look like, knowing where the Browns are drafting. It feels like it's going to truly be a year draft wise where they just kind of supplement the roster all these other places and probably don't take a quarterback, and they address that position with a veteran that can compete for the job with the guys they already have on the roster. That's my read on it, and we could talk about it more in depth, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. My quick, I'll do 10 seconds.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Dante Moore going back gives me like, it calms me down because it's like, okay, I'd have been really upset if they sent both their ones to somebody to go up and try to get a guy, because I think this roster's got too many holes. And we saw what a total flip on the defensive side did last year, right? Where you got studs at every level. Like, oh, hell yeah, you're ready. Like, if you go get Carnell Tate and 10 offensive line, that's what I would do. Like, if it were me, Carnell Tate, 4 tackles, 4 guards, and 2 centers, and just say, may the best man win, and have it all be young cats everywhere. I think that'd be incredible. But like, you have just too many holes right now on your offense, and that if they can use all their draft picks, 2 firsts, whatever all the picks are, I don't know them off the top of my head right now, but like, I think that's better than going up and trying to get a guy.
Well, with him going back too, the Jets might as well just fire Aaron Glenn now.
Good night, bro.
Because if he doesn't have a franchise quarterback, he's probably fired next year anyway.
Dude, I can just think of like us being there and being like, man, that would be, imagine that show.
Yeah, sorry, Aaron Glenn. Honestly, like your ticket to keeping your job is getting a quarterback, and now that's out the window. So
quick before we get out of here, what are your picks for this weekend? 4 games.
I think I'm taking.
All right, San Francisco or Seattle?
I think I'm taking Seattle. I think San Francisco's luck runs out.
Okay,
I think I'm taking the Rams because I think the Rams are probably the best overall team left, even though I'm rooting for the Bears because I like the story there. I think the Patriots win.
And then Bills-Broncos.
Ah, man, I'm so torn on that one because, like, the Bills have the best quarterback left in the field. But they're so banged up. Like, at some point, they're not going to be able to move the football, right? Like, can he keep playing Superman to get them to the Super Bowl? I don't know.
How did his leg not break on that touchdown?
I don't know. Because he's an alien, I guess. I don't know.
Bills, Seahawks, Houston, Bears.
Ooh, you should pick New England though, because Bills New England rematch 3rd time this season would be awesome for the AFC Championship game.
Boots on the ground.
That would honestly be like perfect, right? That'd be like Bills. They have to exercise the demons of the Patriots to get to a Super Bowl, like the team that always stood in their way for all those years and beat their ass.
Yeah.
That'd be
an awesome story, but the Houston Texans have the meanest group of defenders I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, but can CJ Stroud do enough? Can CJ Stroud do enough?
That's the question.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Use the QR code at the top if you want to find Browns Roundtable and become part of our site. Join the community space. Get involved in the comment sections down there. And, be part of the Browns conversation as they continue their search for head coach. You can also read all of our written content over there as well. And I encourage you to subscribe to Browns Roundtable, our YouTube channel, where most of you are watching this right now. And make sure that you follow along all season long and all off season long with all things Cleveland Browns with Browns Roundtable.